They say some houses are too quiet. But Susan McKinley had grown used to the silence. Ever since her husband passed away 5 winters ago, the old cedar frame house tucked into the snowy hills of Colorado had turned into something of a museum, a space full of echoes, not voices. The floorboards creaked, the wind whispered against the eaves, and yet the thing Susan missed most was the sound of footsteps, human or otherwise. She had no children, no close family nearby. Her neighbors were kind, but distant. They'd wave, send casseroles after the holidays. But the world outside her porch seemed to move on without her. It was the kind of life you fall into slowly, like snow piling up overnight. Susan's days were methodical. She rose at 6, made oatmeal, fed the birds outside, and read old letters she kept in a shoebox under the bed. By noon she'd be in her garden shed, where she tried to keep plants alive even in the harsh winters. But every evening, just before the sun dipped behind the peaks, she sat in her late husband's rocking chair, watching the long shadows stretch across the snow. And that's when the silence hit hardest. One evening in early February, as a gray dusk melted into the hills, Susan spotted something unusual. Out by the tree line, near the edge of her property, something moved. At first she thought it was a coyote, maybe a stray elk calf. But when it limped closer, her heart stuttered. It was a dog. Thin, ragged, limping on 3 legs, with matted fur that once might have been golden. His ribs showed. His eyes were tired, but they locked onto hers like he'd been searching for someone, and somehow knew he'd found her. Susan didn't move, didn't even breathe. The dog stopped 10 feet away. Then, as if unsure whether the world could be trusted, he lay down slowly, head resting on his front paw. He didn't whine. He didn't bark. He just watched her. That night, Susan couldn't sleep. Her thoughts kept drifting to the animal outside. Was he still there? Was he cold? Hungry? The next morning, before even making coffee, she bundled up and stepped onto the porch. Her breath fogged in front of her face. And there he was. Same place, same eyes. She took a tentative step forward, then another. The dog didn't flinch. She placed a bowl of leftover chicken down and retreated to the porch. He sniffed, ate slowly, then curled up again as if to say, "This is home now, if you'll have me." That was how Max entered Susan's life. Over the next week, Susan set out food twice a day. She gave him water, left blankets by the porch steps. On the 5th day, he hobbled onto the wooden porch, settled beside the door, and let out a long sigh. By the 7th, he was inside. He didn't like sudden noises, didn't bark at the vacuum, flinched when she dropped a spoon. But he followed her from room to room, slept by her bed, rested his chin on her knee when she read aloud in the evenings. He was healing, and so it turned out was she. Susan named him Max. She tried other names first, Rusty, Buddy, Jake. But when she said Max, he looked up like he remembered it. Not just in his ears, but somewhere deep in his bones. She took him to the local vet, a kind man named Dr. Elliot Monroe, who worked out of a converted barn 20 miles down the mountain. Max was malnourished but strong-hearted. No microchip, no collar, nothing to say who he'd once belonged to. "He chose you," Dr. Monroe said, gently examining Max's injured leg. "Sometimes that's how these things go." Susan didn't reply. Her hand rested lightly on Max's head. But something inside her shifted. Life began to warm at the edges. Susan found herself waking up with purpose. She cleared out her husband's old workshop to build Max a proper bed, though he mostly ignored it to sleep beside her rocking chair. She started taking short walks again, through the snow-patched trails that lined the hillside. Max beside her, always close, always watchful. She talked to him, told him stories, read him old poems. She laughed for the first time in months when he barked at the toaster. And in the small, sacred silence between words, Max listened. Not like a dog, like a witness. But the past doesn't always stay quiet. Because one morning, a truck pulled up to the base of her drive. And inside it sat a man with military plates and eyes that recognized Max. The first snow arrived like an old friend, soft, slow, and steady, blanketing the world outside Sozan's cabin in a hush so complete. Even the pine trees seemed to hold their breath. It was mid-November now. Max sat by the window each morning, eyes following the drifting flakes, tail motionless, as if sensing the season wasn't just changing. It was carrying something deeper with it. Inside, Sozan moved about in quiet rhythm. She had unpacked her winter woolens, hung cedar garlands over the stone hearth, and brought out the old kettle, the one her mother had used every winter to make clove tea. Everything felt like a memory. Even Max, who used to leap at the sight of snow, now watched it like an old man reading a familiar story. But that morning something was different. As Sozan prepared her oatmeal, she heard it. A faint thump at the porch. Not the sound of a branch or falling snow. This was deliberate. Presence. Max growled softly, not in alarm but curiosity. She opened the door slowly, and there on the wooden planks was a small cardboard box. No footprints. No tire tracks on the snowed-in road. Just a box. And a note. She knelt, heart quickening. The note, handwritten in slanted cursive, simply read, "Please take care of him. He won't make it through the night alone." Her eyes widened as she lifted the flap, and inside, nestled in a worn flannel shirt, was a tiny beagle pup, barely a few weeks old, shivering, ribs showing. Max stepped forward and sniffed cautiously. Then, in an act that startled her, he lay down next to the box and gave a single, low whine. Sozan didn't hesitate. She brought the box inside, stoked the fire, and wrapped the pup in a towel. As she fed him warm broth drop by drop, she kept glancing at Max. His eyes didn't leave the little pup. Not once. And for a moment, it was as if the cabin, heavy with quiet for so long, exhaled. That night, as the wind howled and the old trees creaked, Sozan sat up by the fire with both dogs. The pup, now named Charlie, was curled against Max's thick fur. Max didn't seem to mind. In fact, he looked more alive than he had in weeks. She whispered into the flickering light, "Did someone send you, little guy? Or did something out there know we needed you?" The days passed, and Charlie's strength grew. He followed Max everywhere, clumsily at first, often tripping on his own paws but determined. He mimicked the older dog's every move, from how he nosed at the snow to how he sat patiently while Sozan read aloud from her journals. There was a shift in Max, too. He'd started sleeping beside Sozan's bed again. He barked at the wind, chased squirrels, things he hadn't done in months. It was as if some part of him had reawakened, sparked by this little soul who knew nothing of pain or loss, only the present moment and its simple joys. Sozan noticed, of course. In her evening reflections, always written by hand, by firelight, she jotted down, "Max is teaching again, and Charlie is listening like his life depends on it. Maybe it does. Maybe we all are saving each other in ways we don't understand." But Colorado winters are not just beautiful, they are brutal. By early December, the snowdrifts were high as fences. The road to the nearest town, Evergreen, had been impassable for days. She was well stocked on food and firewood, but still, she knew isolation could turn from peace to peril without warning. And then it happened. One morning, Max didn't rise with her. She found him by the fire, breathing shallow, legs trembling as he tried to stand. Panic rose in her throat. "No, no, not now," she whispered, cradling his head. "We just got you back." She wrapped him in blankets, placed Charlie beside him for warmth, and tried calling the vet in town. No signal. She lit a flare that would alert any passing ranger, a backup plan for emergencies. Then she waited. Hours passed. The wind picked up. Charlie wouldn't leave Max's side. The pup licked his muzzle gently, pawed at his chest. Max let out a low groan. Not of pain, but of effort, like someone trying to rise against the pull of something deep. Sozan knelt beside them, eyes full of tears, hands stroking Max's fur. And in that moment, a memory struck her. One she hadn't let herself revisit in years. It was the day she'd lost her husband, Mark, a sudden heart attack while hiking near Estes Park. She had waited, just like this, by the door, by the phone, in the unbearable silence, praying for a miracle that never came. Max had been the one who saved her from drowning in that grief. He was a puppy then, given to her by her sister, Liz, who had said, "He'll give you a reason to step outside again." And he had. Max had pulled her out of bed when nothing else could, had made her walk and cook and speak, had laid beside her on nights when the emptiness echoed louder than the wind. She looked at him now, aging and frail, and she understood the circle had come around again. But this time he wasn't leaving her empty. This time he'd given her Charlie. Outside, the wind howled harder. And then headlights. A truck. She ran out barefoot into the snow, waving both arms, screaming. Ranger Todd, a gentle giant who patrolled the mountain trails. He'd seen the flare. Within minutes, Max was wrapped in warm compresses, a shot administered, and Charlie huddled in a jacket pocket while Sozan sobbed in relief. "It was close," the ranger said. "Real close, but you did good. You kept him going." She whispered, holding Max's paw. "He kept me going." Later that night, Max stirred again, weaker but stable. He licked Charlie's ear and wagged his tail just once. Charlie yipped in delight, pounced on Max's paw, and the cabin filled with life again. Sozan, kneeling between them, whispered to the firelight, "I thought I was losing you, but maybe love doesn't leave. It just finds new shapes." She held both dogs close. Outside, the snow still fell, but now it felt like a blanket, not a barrier. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet promise was made. She would not let this moment fade. She would carry them both, just as they had carried her. Together, they had survived the storm. It was the quiet after the storm that always carried the heaviest weight. Max had made it through the night, but Sozan knew the clock was ticking. Age wasn't something you could bargain with, not even in the mountains. It crept in slow, but it never left empty-handed. Still, in that quiet cabin nestled beneath the snow-heavy pines, something sacred had settled. Not just survival, something more. Charlie was thriving. In just a few weeks, the beagle pup had grown stronger, bolder, nipping at firewood, skidding across rugs, stealing Sozan's socks and proudly presenting them like trophies. He'd also begun shadowing Max with the attentiveness of a soldier learning from his general. Every glance, every tail flick, every shift of Max's ear became a lesson. Max didn't just tolerate him. He watched him with that wise, worn gaze of someone passing on a torch. Sozan watched them both. Her journal pages grew longer. Her tea went cold more often. One line stood out among her scribbled thoughts that week. "I didn't know it until now, but I've been waiting to matter again. And somehow I mattered to these two." It was 3 days before Christmas when the first knock came. Sozan nearly dropped the teacup in her hand. No one ever came out this far in winter, not without a reason. Her road was still half buried under snow, the trail rutted and icy. She peeked through the frosted window. A woman stood on her porch, late 20s maybe, long auburn hair tucked into a military-style parka, eyes scanning the trees behind her. Nervous, Sozan opened the door cautiously. "Can I help you?" The woman turned sharply. I'm sorry to bother you. I got lost. My phone's dead. I've been hiking for hours. I saw smoke from your chimney." Charlie barked from inside. Max didn't rise but gave a low, attentive grunt. "Come in before you freeze," Sozan said, moving aside. "Name's Sozan." "Kaylee?" the woman said, stepping in and hugging herself. "Thank you." She sat by the fire, shaking snow from her boots. As Sozan handed her tea and a woolen throw, her story spilled out like thawed ice. She'd come to the Rockies chasing silence, needing to be alone after losing her brother in a car crash 2 months prior. She hadn't even told her parents she'd come. Said she just needed space to breathe. "Thought I could hike it," she muttered. "I was wrong." Sozan didn't pry. She just listened, nodding. Sometimes all people need is to be heard by someone who isn't trying to fix them. "You live here all the time?" Kaylee asked, eventually looking around. "For nearly 8 years now," Sozan replied. "After my husband passed, This was the only place that didn't make the silence feel like punishment. Kaylee looked at her then, really looked. "You lost someone too," she whispered. Sozan nodded. "Many someones. But I gained a few back too." She gestured toward Max and Charlie. The older dog had finally stirred, easing himself over to sniff the newcomer. Charlie, predictably, followed. Kaylee knelt, and Max laid his head in her lap. That was the first time Kaylee cried. Kaylee stayed 3 nights. It was supposed to be 1. But the blizzard that hit Christmas Eve had other plans. Sozan didn't mind. The house that had once felt like a waiting room for grief now buzzed with life. Kaylee helped cook. She read aloud. She braided Sozan's hair by the fire like they were lifelong friends. Max grew fond of her quickly. Sozan noticed how he leaned his weight into her when she rubbed his side, or how he'd follow her from room to room like he didn't want her out of sight. Charlie, of course, adored her. He'd bring her pine cones, chew toys, even one of Sozan's slippers. On the second night, as the snow painted the windows and old Christmas records played softly in the background, Kaylee turned to Sozan and said, "I didn't think anyone could understand what I was carrying, but I think you do, and I think they do too." She looked at the dogs. Sozan smiled. "They know more than we give them credit for." And then, almost as if on cue, Max lifted his head and gave one soft bark, the kind he used to give Mark when he came home late. A sound of recognition, of presence. Felt like someone else was in the room. On Christmas morning, they found something incredible. Out by the tree line, just off the porch, were paw prints. Not just dog prints, wolf prints. Large, fresh, circling, then trailing off into the trees. But there was no sign of fear in Max. In fact, he stood at the window for hours, watching the woods, his eyes calm, alert. Sozan couldn't explain it. But she didn't try to. Some things weren't meant to be reasoned with. Some were just meant to be witnessed. Later that night, Kaylee asked if she could take a photo with the dogs. She knelt beside Max and Charlie, held them close, and smiled for the first time in weeks. "I want to remember what this felt like," she said. "To be part of something again." Kaylee left the day after the roads were cleared. Sozan gave her a care package. Hot cider mix, a scarf she'd knitted, and a copy of the journal entries she'd written during Kaylee's stay. "You've got something in you," Sozan said. "Something that wants to come back to life." Kaylee hugged her, tears returning. "So do you," she whispered. That night, alone again with Max and Charlie, the house didn't feel empty. It felt full of echoes, of laughter, tears, and moments that mattered. Sozan made tea, sat by the fire, and wrote. "Some visitors come when we expect them, others when we need them most. The trick is knowing how to receive them either way." Charlie curled up at her feet. Max, slower now, rested his head on her slipper. She placed her hand over his. "Not yet," she said gently. "You still have things to teach him. And me." Outside, the wind moved through the trees like a whisper. Inside, the heart of the mountain kept beating. Steady, quiet, and full of life. There's a rhythm to mountain life, one that city folks rarely understand. You rise with the sun when it shows. You listen to the wind, not the news. You learn to read silence like a second language. For Sozan, winter passed in slow, thoughtful pages. Charlie grew into his legs, though he still tripped over them when chasing sticks through the drifts. His beagle ears flopped comically as he bounded through the snow like a deer. But he was more than just energy, he was watching Max. Every movement, every pause, every gaze out the window or subtle grunt before lying down. Max, in turn, had become gentler with Charlie. Less gruff, less bothered, almost fatherly. Sometimes he'd place a paw on Charlie's back when the pup got too rowdy. A quiet reminder that the world wasn't just fun, it was sacred. Sozan saw it all, and she felt it like a slow-burning fire beneath her ribs. But she also saw what others couldn't. Max's steps were heavier now. He slept longer. His appetite had changed. The old spark in his eyes was still there, but behind it, a flicker of fatigue, a silent clock winding down. One morning in February, Sozan took them both out to the lower meadow. The storm had cleared overnight, and the sunlight glinted off every branch and snowbank like diamonds. Sozan brought her camera. It was an old thing, Mark's actually, and it had dusted off more memories than it had captured. Max wandered just ahead, tail up, ears alert. Charlie dashed ahead, then circled back like a sheepdog. Then it happened. Max paused at a ridge, looking out over the valley below. He didn't move for a long time. Charlie came up beside him and sat, and Sozan stood still and watched. The old dog and the young one, side by side. No barking, no movement, just watching. She raised the camera and took a single photo. And in that frame, she saw what she hadn't wanted to say aloud. Max was passing on the land, like an elder showing the next in line where the sacred things live, where the wind bends the pine just so, where elk sleep in spring, where lightning once split a tree that still stood, proud and wounded. That night, Sozan wrote in her journal, "He's preparing him, and me, not for an end, but for a change." Max stopped eating that Friday. At first, she told herself it was just a belly ache. Then the excuses began. He was tired, it was the cold, maybe a muscle pull. But by Sunday, she sat beside him on the rug, her hand resting on the scruff of his neck, and said quietly, "Okay, old friend. I know." Charlie wouldn't leave his side. He curled against Max so tightly that his own ribs rose and fell in sync with the older dog's. He licked his ear, whined softly, waited, and Sozan, who had thought her heart had already broken enough in this life, felt the weight of one more crack. But it wasn't sharp. It wasn't shattering. It was reverent, like watching the last light of day rest on a mountain top before the night takes its turn. 3 days later, a knock came at the door. This time it was two people, Ethan, the park ranger who checked the wildlife routes, and Maria, a retired vet who lived down in Leadville. They had heard through a neighbor, one of the rare ones within radio reach, that Max might be struggling. Maria took one look and nodded solemnly. "He's close, but he's not in pain yet." Sozan sat at the kitchen table while they talked about the choices, the timeline, the signs. Maria explained what to watch for if she wanted Max to pass naturally, and what the gentler option might be if things became too hard. But Sozan already knew. She just needed someone to sit with her while she heard it out loud. They didn't stay long. Before they left, Ethan knelt beside Max, placed a hand on his side, and whispered, "You did good, boy." Charlie licked Ethan's boot, then ran back to curl beside Max again. Sozan saw something in Maria's face as she looked at the two dogs, like wonder, but quieter. "Some animals," she said softly, "are born knowing how to guide souls. Others, like your pup there, are born to follow and carry that light forward." That night, Sozan took out the old scrapbook. Photos of Mark, of the cabin being built, of Sozan and Max, years younger, grinning with windburned cheeks. She placed it beside Max and began reading aloud. Each page, a memory. Each caption, a whisper of life well lived. Charlie watched, ears perked, eyes wide, learning the story of the man he'd never met, the woman who'd saved him, and the dog who was holding it all together. Then, on a quiet Thursday morning, it happened. Sozan awoke just after dawn. Max was still. Charlie lay beside him, head resting gently on Max's shoulder. No barking, no whining, just silence. The kind that doesn't ask for attention, only presence. Sozan knelt slowly, her hands trembling but sure, and placed a hand over Max's chest. No rise, no fall, but the warmth still lingered, the way a fire does long after its flame is gone. She didn't cry, not right away. She just whispered, "Thank you." Then, almost instinctively, Charlie raised his head and let out one long, low howl. It wasn't loud. It wasn't sad. It was a call. Farewell. Promise. They buried Max beneath the tall pine near the ridge, the same spot where he'd once watched the valley with Charlie. Sozan carved a wooden marker by hand. Max, 2009 to 2025. Protector, teacher, friend. Charlie stood by her side the whole time. Afterward, they sat together on the ridge, watching the wind move across the snow-covered valley. No words, just hearts adjusting to a new beat. Sozan wrote that night, "He didn't leave us. He just stepped into the wind. Now it's Charlie's turn to run with it."